Hello, everybody. I'm Ian Norfolk, and welcome to the third episode of the WISRD Podcast. I'm here with the amazing third guest, Maxum Staples. Say hi, Max.
Hi, everybody. I'm Max. I've been at Wildwood and Wizard for 3 years, and I'm very involved in the whole 3D printer, laser cutter, and CNC machine. I'm kind of the machinist, or was the machinist there at Wizard. So,
Yeah. So, first, I'd like to congratulate Max because happily he has graduated from Wildwood Upper School, which also means he is now forever gone from WISRD, but he does get to join the exclusive club of being a WISRD alum. So, can you go into a bit more detail about what your work with the CNC machine and overall just being the machinist of the WISRD lab, what that experience and what that job really entailed?
yeah, coming into Wizard, I came from University Mass Magnet, which was a very STEM-oriented school. It was a STEM magnet. So I had kind of grounded myself in the STEM scene right from the beginning of high school. But after I found that that school wasn't really my fit, I transferred over to Wizard, where the opportunities that they could afford me were much greater than that was at my old school. Um, and with that was my start with the 3D printer. So almost immediately when I started at Wizard, I got right onto Tinkercad, right onto Onshape, and started working right away. The laser cutter and CNC didn't really come until later that year, or even the year after. I don't think we got the CNC until when I was in 11th grade, or sorry, the laser cutter. Um, but yeah, I mean, I started working with the 3D printer almost right as I got to Wizard, and just committed myself to it. Kept working. I was designing ball bearings on like my fourth month there, like fully printable ball bearings that you can print in one piece. It wasn't until really about 11th grade, beginning of 11th grade, until I started like really working with the CNC machine, where I was cutting a special plastic that was going to be on the radio telescope that was sent up in the rocket. Um, but yeah, I mean, ventured into working with the laser cutter, which was a lot of fun. Um, and now, yeah, I guess I concreted myself as kind of the machinist of Wizard.
Yeah, definitely. Luckily, WISRD gives a lot of the students the resources and honestly the materials to do some really awesome things. And I think nothing like exemplifies that more than the Glowforge. What was it like working with such a cutting edge commercial technology like that?
So yeah, Glowforge is our laser cutter, um, and it was amazing. I mean, to have such an advanced piece of machinery at like a moment's notice, I could use it whenever I want. I built my mom's birthday present with it. Um, it was awesome to like really get a grasp on almost industrial grade equipment before I even graduate high school is something that like you can't really get anywhere else. And now I'm going off to college. I'm going to be taking. I'm going majoring in mechanical engineering. Something that this experience that I've built over the last 3 years will very much be used. Um, but the Glowforge is awesome. It can do like anything. We were engraving phone cases. We were making birthday gifts. We were making like components for other projects in Wizard. It was a bit trickier. There was a trick with the laser cutter where everything you had to do, you had to build it in a 2D plane. So even if you wanted a 3D um, object, you needed to graph it and design it in 2D because it only cut in 2 dimensions.
Yeah.
Um, so that was a bit difficult. And the first project that I did with the laser cutter was the wind tunnel control box. And it took a lot longer than expected because graphing it in 2D was a lot harder. But overall, it was a great learning experience, and it was really just like to have that opportunity put in front of me, and Joe kind of say like, "This is all you. Figure it out. Do what you need to do. Watch some YouTube videos, and then come to me when you're ready to be working for the rest of the Wizard." Um,
Yeah.
which is it's really cool.
That's definitely a cornerstone of WISRD ingenuity. Kind of bringing it back to what you were saying previously, you were talking about how this experience is really going to help you and you feel like it's already helping you going into college. Can you elaborate a bit more on that?
So yeah, I guess to give a little bit more context, I'm going to Case Western Reserve University in the fall for mechanical engineering, and I want to hopefully in the future venture into prosthetics. Um, but in preparation for college to come, the work that we're doing in Wizard is work like you can't get anywhere else. I mean, especially with the laser cutter, but really like any subject in Wizard is doing a similar thing. It's exposing you to content and machinery and like an experience that you're not going to get until maybe you get to college or until you get like an internship with a research lab or like it's exposing you to these almost raw experiences that if you want to pursue engineering in the future you're going to have to adapt to in the future. So like learning how to manage and adapt to it before you even graduate high school it already gives you a step ahead, not academically, but it gives you the experience that other college students don't have. So and 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 I mean they say half of being an engineer is experience. Sure, you can go to college for 4 years, 8 years, get your master's or your PhD, and you can be smart as hell in the engineering field. But if you're put up against a guy who's been working on the lab for the last 4 years and you haven't even touched a lab, I mean, like you're gonna die. So this lab experience that you're getting in high school, it's unbeatable. So
Yeah, honestly, the experience that Wizard affords the students is it's invaluable in so many ways because
yeah,
learning like how to deal with integration hell or what it's like actually producing something because you can go and make a cool CAD design and just leave it at that, but
yeah,
actually taking it and putting it into a usable object is a whole nother level of engineering ability, and Wizard definitely excels at giving you that kind of experience and that kind of work.
oh definitely.
So, what do you think sets Wizard apart, and why do you think it's so successful, as we've been remarking on, compared to other classes that are at least sort of similar or other engineering STEM type classes?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I was at University Mass Magnet, which, like Wizard, of course, Wildwood's not a very STEM focused school, but Wizard is their STEM focus. Um, it was very focused in STEM. But the difference between Wizard and where I was before, and I'm only going to talk to the experiences that I know I can talk to, um, is like the amount of dedication and as much as I had multiple teachers in my STEM magnet at my old school, the commitment that they gave was nothing near the commitment that the adults at Wizard are giving to you. Joe and Bob are very committed to you, but it's a different commitment. They want you to do what you want to do instead of teaching you what they're told to teach you. You can go up to Joe and say, "Hey, I want to learn how to code a Raspberry Pi. I want to learn how to use Python and like properly use a Raspberry Pi." And and he'll do that. But like you can't go up to the math teacher in the STEM magnet and say the same thing. Um, so
Yeah,
it's almost like the individuality and like the commitment that the teachers are given to you, and then on top of that, the budget and the opportunity that are afforded to you, that opens up a more like realistic environment, like engineering and STEM environment, I think.
yeah. So, kind of the ability for Joe to really it's kind of Joe definitely helps you and Bob definitely helps you, but they give you your own lane to be independent in. While in a normal academic environment, everybody's doing the same task and you don't really go off the beaten path. For Joe, it's like go do whatever the heck you want. But at the same time, he's there to help you and to make sure that you're keeping yourself in your limits and you're not like stretching yourself out too far.
Exactly. I mean, uh, when I say, of course, when I say you can go in there and do whatever you want, it should keep on the STEM focus, and you should really join Wizard if you want to do engineering and STEM work. Um, and Joe's gonna help you. I mean, he'll be there. He's not gonna teach you everything. He's gonna teach you how to teach yourself to do the things. And with that skill, you'll find your little groove, and you'll settle in your little groove in Wizard, and then you'll have your thing to do, which is very realistic. I mean, if we were to be in a real lab setting, everybody has a job, everybody's expected to stay and participate as that job, and then you get the lab done, and you get research, and you publish papers, and that's what we're doing in Wizard. Um, I just so happen to settle in the machining kind of place, and when people need parts and things either printed, machined, cut, they come to me, and that's like my job. Um, so it's yeah, it's the individuality and the realism that's brought to Wizard that like really concretes the certainty that you're given, that you know what you're doing.
Yeah, totally understand that. So, as a multi-year member of the Wizard board, how do you think that affected your position and also what you did in Wizard?
The Wizard board was amazing. Thank you again to all the Wizard board. Of course, we have our um, board president here interviewing me. But yeah, I served on the board for 2 years, and I knew that I wanted to be a bigger part in Wizard and be more of a representation of Wizard right after my first year. So I got on the board after my 10th grade year, and it's been amazing. Um, to be such a key part in Wizard has been like it connects you to the institution um, on such a deeper level. You're making executive decisions for projects that you've been working on for the past year and a half, and like you really get to dictate what goes on in Wizard. And it's this group of students that makes Wizard what it is. I mean, of course Joe's the teacher, of course Bob's a helper, but it's like Wizard's so student run. We have a board of representatives that are like really making the decisions for Wizard. um it's been great, and the experience that I've gained from it has been even better. I mean, I've really concreted myself and really solidified myself as like a leader in the community because I've been on the board for so long. And I'm confident about going to college and being able to tell people what to do and tell people, oh, I think this is how it should be, and accepting response or accepting like a defense or an argument and like being okay with that because that's how things work and that's how the real world works. Um, but no, the Wizard board was great, and to be such a key part of something so amazing was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think the perspective it gives you is really important, especially in the 21st century. A lot of kids seem to be lacking just kind of the lenses of different types of people and different kind of, as Wildwood would put it, the habit of perspective.
Hmm.
But as an administrative role that you gain in the board, you realize you have to take the responsibility to hear out your constituents and hear out your fellow board members, and you can't just ignore them or disagree with them, but you actually have to communicate and find what the best solution for the entirety of Wizard is. And
Exactly. Like being the machinist in Wizard, I was kind of always like a lone wolf. I'd get paired up with groups when they needed my help, but for the most part, I was doing a lot of contracting work by myself. So it was a lot of me designing CAD files on Onshape and sitting by myself writing papers, whatever it was, working with the machines. And I think limiting myself to just that role and kind of being alone could have been very hurtful. But opening myself up to realizing that it's not only a one man show and that like big operations like these take a lot of people and take a lot of perspectives to properly and most efficiently run, like to give me that insight was amazing, and to be a part of the board to like make those decisions, not only realize that I'm not alone, but to sit down in a room with 10 other people and make a decision that is going to either like where are we going to give our funding? Like that's stuff that we talk about. That's uh, I'm talking about where we're diverting funding in high school, which is like I could never dream of that. So the Wizard board was amazing, and to be such an part of an integral, like, okay, to be such an integral part of something so big was amazing.
Yeah, especially in STEM. I feel like kids a lot of time when you get into STEM, you get into like building something or space, but you don't get into the part that actually matters to the
Yeah.
job, which is like being able to talk to people and being able to make publications. And especially if you want to go be like head engineer, which I know you want to do, you got to be able to sit in a room and have a meeting about where the money's got to go and what
Yeah.
has to be happening. And I feel like nowhere else for a high school student can you even get close to that kind of experience.
Yeah, I mean, Wizard really showed me the scary side of where I want to go with the rest of my life, and to because everybody says like, go to college, keep your mind open because you don't know, like, oh, maybe what you want to do is something way out there and it's really crazy. Like you don't want to do that. That's a bit too wild. But I'm not afraid of that anymore because I've already been exposed to like all the kind of scary parts. I'm probably not all, and I'm sure not all, but a good deal of the scary parts of what's to come in an engineering position.
Yeah, you've at least had some scary parts. Because
Exactly.
honestly, if we didn't have this experience, I would have gone my whole life just reading about how cool astronomy is,
Yeah.
and then not realizing you have like tons and tons of work you got to do
Mhm.
to figure stuff out. And
Yeah.
it would have been the same if you would have been awesome. You would have been machining things, but you would have never learned how to actually work as a real engineer and not
Yeah,
just a
exactly.
guy in a garage like building something awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so now moving on to the holy grail of today's episode. Do we want to do this in the full, complete saga of the weather balloon story, or I think we should give them some context before?
I mean, yeah, we can give yeah, I can start with some context. But this
Yeah.
is very much a fun story that we've been trying to document in Wizard now for wow, it's been 3 years and we have okay. Um so as we've mentioned multiple times, I was kind of a very 3D printer heavy student in 10th grade. And with that, I was appointed the lead engineer to the weather balloon project, which was not a new project. They had done it the year before. It was Aiden Stern and Remy Woods with Joe Wise, and they were working with the high school called Synergy Quantum Academy in East LA. And the year before was a fail. We had a couple instruments on the payload, one being the GPS, and the GPS being the only one we got back that year. I wasn't there for this year, just to make that clear. Um, but we had lost all the other instruments, the GoPro, the rest of the payload, the balloon. Everything was lost on the first try, except the GPS because, well, the GPS gives off the signal and we find the GPS. Um, so it was my job as lead engineer the second year to build a payload that was going to stay in one piece so that we had all of the instruments on one payload when it landed on Earth. And the weather balloon project is basically we're sending a bunch of instruments on a payload, basically into the outer atmospheres, almost to space, um, to gather data, video footage, whatever it be. And then it comes back down, and we go pick it up and write a paper on it. So I had spent, it was halfway through my 10th grade year, and Joe had kind of told me, like, look, we need this. We kind of want it to look like this. The rest is up to you. You build it. Go ahead. Um, and I did. So I put a lot of work into designing it and researching what materials to print the pieces out of. We ended up printing it out of carbon G, which is a carbon glass composite. It's really tough stuff. Um, and yeah, so we built it. We tested it. We dropping it off the second floor, second story of the building and stuff. and it was really cool. And so I guess now we'll get to the meat of the story. Um, so come launch day, we're working with this other school. We're still working with the other school, and we are going to launch the balloon in the Mojave Desert. So it's about a 2-hour drive out to the desert. We meet Synergy Quantum Academy there. We pack it all up. My payload is full. We have the GPS, a GoPro, altimeter, barometer. There's probably a couple other itters in there, but my job as the engineer was to get it back down in one piece. So I wasn't very committed to what was on the payload. Um, but yeah, so we got it up. It was a safe launch, a successful launch. We kind of watched it as it disappeared into the distance and just kind of kept going up. Um, and then after that, we just had to wait. We were kind of stuck in the Mojave Desert until, because past a point, I believe it was 70,000 feet, we lost our GPS signal. We had a tiny GPS, a spot GPS on the actual payload that was sending a GPS signal to our phones so we could track where it was. And at 70,000 feet is when we lose it. And basically, we have to wait for the balloon to pop, and then it re-enter the atmosphere at around 70,000 feet for us to get a signal back and know, oh, it's here. We have to go chase it. And it took about 6 hours for us to get that signal back. Or no, it didn't. It took 3 hours for us to get the next signal back. But it was 3 hours away from us. So we had waited 3 hours for it to come back into where we could see it, and then started driving in the direction of which it was going to go. And then eventually, because it updates every 5 minutes, it sends us a GPS signal every 5 minutes. Eventually, it was sending us the same signal over and over again, which meant that it had landed. So we plugged those coordinates, because it was giving us coordinates, into Google Maps. And we were very, very, very excited to see that it was only about 10 feet off of a road out in the desert. So we weren't going to have to hike 3 hours into the middle of the Mojave Desert and not know where we're going, because it was right off the road. And we were really happy about that. But it was 3 hours away, like I said. So we started driving, and the people who were out there, just to reinstate this, it was me, Aiden Stern, Remy Woods, Joe, Bob, and then the Synergy Quantum Academy crew. So there was about 5 or 6 of them as well. So there's about 10 or 11 of us in the desert. And we're driving out, and it's about 2.5 hours in, and we're finally on the road where it says the payload is. And we're driving up the road, and I'll send this picture to you, Ian, if you want to use this picture. And we're confronted by a huge gate that says "Do not enter." Um, and we had accidentally landed the balloon in a secret Navy base in the middle of the Mojave Desert. So we couldn't go forth. The road that it was on was named something else on Google Maps to keep the identity hidden in real life. Um, and we couldn't continue down the road because there was a huge gate that said "Do not enter." Um, Very desolate, in the middle of nowhere. We are in the middle of the desert, um, and we're confronted by this gate, and we don't know what to do. We don't have any service. We can't see another person for miles, and it was just, it was like, what do we do? We don't really know what to do. Um, so there was a call box there, a small call box, and Joe went up to the call box. He called the phone, and on the other end was the chief of police for the local area. So what we had to do was we were talking to the chief of police, and we explained that we had launched a school project, and it says that our project was past this gate. that we somehow had to get it. But he kind of explained to us that, look, you just flew an unidentified object into a secret Navy base. I'm not really sure how you're going to get this payload back. But um, so he drives down to us about 30 minutes later, and we meet up with the chief of police of the local area, who is the only one that's trusted, I guess, with the keys to this door to go, or the ability to talk to whoever's in the Navy base. And so I guess he goes and he tries to scout out where it is, because we show him where it is on our maps, and apparently it's like bordering on a bomb testing site. So he tells us, look, I'm going to go check out where it is. If it's on the bomb testing site, you guys have to wait till Tuesday for us to get the bomb specialist out here to go get your thing and bring it back. Or if it's not on the bomb testing site, I'll go pick it up, bring it back, and we'll see what we can do. But you guys probably aren't going to get this back. And when he saw that there was a GoPro on it, he said, "You guys are definitely not going to get this back," because we had footage of this secret Navy base. So after a long day and a lot of work put into building this payload and this weather balloon, and a lot of coordination with like another
Yeah.
school and everything,
Luckily, we now have that in the
we went
books
back
for
after
the
a
rest of
14-hour
history and
day
all time, and
empty-handed.
hopefully no
And
suits come up to me next year once
eventually we
this is
did get
posted.
the weather balloon back, but they had wiped
All right, so
every
moving
SD
on,
card
we're
and
going to be
every
kind of wrapping up
instrument
the
on the
podcast
payload.
now, but one of the
So we have
classic
no
questions I
data
ask all
to
the
write a
guests
paper
is,
on.
what advice would you
We
give to
couldn't really do
somebody
anything with
joining
it.
WISRD this year?
And honestly, that's how it went down. I'd say take it slow.
What a shame, but at least it came out to
WISRD's
be a
really
pretty awesome
intimidating when you
story.
first join.
Well, it was a pretty
And it's
awesome
something
story,
that
and
we all kind
we
of
did get the
recognize
payload
that
back,
it's
and it was
been a
all in
very
one
big
piece, and
topic
it wasn't broken at all,
of many
which
board
meant
discussions.
I did my job very
How to
correctly.
kind of ease
So,
the transition into WISRD.
I'm happy about that.
But I think the best advice I have for a new coming WISRD member would just be take it slow. Um, a lot of the things around you are going to be moving a lot faster than you expect. We do move fast. We move efficient. We try and be as efficient as we can in WISRD. And I know from myself, I wasn't really ready for that when I first joined. Um, so take it slow until you feel like you can match the pace of the rest of the institute. And don't worry about taking too long to adapt. You've got everybody there to help you. I mean, if you ask for some help, anybody will help you. Part of being a WISRD member is being a leader and a helper for your peers. So they're there. Joe's there. Bob's there. Um, it's gonna be intimidating. It's gonna be hard for the first couple months, but once you get it, you'll have experience that'll last you your whole life. So yeah, take it slow.
To wrap it up, since this is technically your final last connection to WISRD for the rest of
It
your
is.
life, what do you want your last remark to the community to be?
I mean, I know it's kind of cheesy and cliche, but thanks, I guess. Thank you, WISRD. Thank you everybody in WISRD. Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Joe. Um, I mean, I probably wouldn't be where I am today without WISRD. So thank you.
Well, that looks like it's about it. I got to plug some stuff. So, one, if you want to check out Max's awesome work that he did through his time with WISRD, you can obviously check out his page on wisrd.org. It's under Max S. Do you have an actual project page on the main projects page?
I don't think that the weather balloon project's updated.
As you guys know, please follow WISRD on Instagram and on Twitter. It's just WISRD. And that's all we have today. Thank you so much, Max, for coming out for the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Have a good day, everybody.
Bye bye.